Okay, everyone. Hello, it's your right bookend Peter here. I know we've been AWOL for a while. Me and Louie are theoretically working on something. God knows when it'll actually happen, though. Turns out we're busy people, like you'll ever believe that. But anyway, tonight I'm flying solo, and rather than ripping into books, I'm going to be ripping into jumping on the bandwagon. But to be fair, I was doing this long before there was a bandwagon. Ripping into the Game of Thrones TV show. Ah, delicious tea. So, I've been a pretty vocal critic of the show since season 5. I actually thought seasons 1 to 4 were about as good an adaptation as you could expect in many respects, I enjoyed it very much. I nitpicked, but I mean, if you actually listen to our podcast, you know I'll nitpick the shit out of anything, so that doesn't necessarily mean that I disliked it. But ever since season 5, in my opinion, the show's been hot garbage that I've mostly been watching just to keep up with the conversation, and because I do take some kind of thrill from shitting on things that other people like and just pissing in their cornflakes in that regard. And, I am actually, in its way, good at turning my brain off to enjoy the show in the moments before then, the second the show finishes, going, actually, that was shit. But anyway, that's all getting way too into the backstory. What's made me decide to do this was because uh, season 8, episode 3 wasn't good. It's gotten backlash. Lots more than is usual for a Game of Thrones. Like, some of my normie friends that usually love the show, they were not happy with this one. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. But this video is kind of to get to the bottom of one of them. How fucking chaotic and unclear the whole battle was. I was having trouble thinking back over it, working out just where the hell everything was happening in relationship to each other. Because there's all these people out there on the field, don't know exactly where. There's all these people, then especially once they get inside the castle, it becomes a complete shit show. There's basically just people standing in front of walls which change, swinging their swords at varying numbers of undead. And that's not even to talk about where the dragons are through all of this. But anyway, that's the point of the video. That's what I'm going to be going through. A super autistic play-by-play of, to the best of my knowledge, what's happening in sort of like each moment of the battle. Now, I'm not saying I got all of this right. I did kind of, re-watch the clips a couple of times to try and actually pin down where everything's actually happening. But, can't guarantee it. I wasn't there, so if you think I've made a clanger or I've missed something, do let me know in the comments. I won't remake the video. I might add a comment or something to the description or pin something in the comments below to let people know. But yeah. Anyway, so I'm not here to complain about everything else that's wrong with the battle, but I'm sure I will, because I'm going to get passionate, because it was a shit show, to put it mildly. So you've probably noticed from this background, this is a shitty slideshow I made. This is the the amount of effort that I'm going to be putting into this, because let's face it, no one's going to watch it. I did it mostly for my amusement more than anything. So, uh, so, uh, so how to begin? This is, as I say, moment zero, how the dramatis personae all lined up. So, I was a little unsure who was on each wing here, actually. Um, but looking at the table plans from the prior episode, and by just watching the episode and like piecing together angles, on the left we got the Vale forces and apparently some Winterfell people as well, unclear how many, which are being led by Brienne, followed with Pod the Rod over here, and Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer. Now I chucked old Bronze Yon in here because there's nowhere else to put him. I mean, he might be inside the castle somewhere. Maybe he's even in the crypts, but it seems right that he's here. But he's going to disappear shortly, so I wouldn't worry about it. The right wing is very hero heavy. This seems to be like the wildlings mostly, the last of the Night's Watchmen, a lot more ragtag looking bunch over here, though they last just as long as the Veil Men. And yeah, we've got all of the C-list characters over here, which isn't to say I don't like some of them, but yeah, all of the people that could be lost in the story would lose nothing. We got Lord Commander Dolores Ed Tollett, we got Sam the Slayer here, Beric Dondarrion, Tormund Giantsbane, Gendry, and Sander Clegane the Hound. So, this big block, the biggest lump of infantry here, these are Daenerys Unsullied, stolen, and I'm sticking with stolen from some slavers and taken across the narrow sea. There's still meant to be thousands of them, and these are led by Mr. Grey Worm. In front of these people, and we will get to that, is a load of catapults and trebuchets, and in front of them, and yes, in front of everything, is the Dothraki Screamers, or her light cavalry. I don't know what happened to her other cavalry, all the Knights of the Vale, that you might remember, winning the Battle of Bastards for Sansa. I guess they fucked off somewhere. But they're led by this Dothraki bloke, Quotho, Pono, whatever. His name is unimportant. We've got Ser Jorah Mormont over here. I say for some reason leading them makes as much sense as anyone else. And now what doesn't make sense is the fact that Ghost is here with him. I mean, they've definitely never interacted in the show before, or would they have any reason to? And to be fair, they don't interact in this one either. They just stand next to each other and run into battle together, which is okay. All right then, bravo, Dabbid. Now somewhere, definitely from the direction that all the undead were coming from, Melisandre Vashai is out here waiting. I think she said she was going to go to Volantis. Don't worry about it. She was actually just waiting in a waiting in a tent for the last year or however long it's been. Or maybe she went and they just told her to bugger off, because let's face it, she didn't exactly cover herself in glory with Stannis now, did she? But anyway, so I've decided to represent the massive whites in general, just with this see-through blue square here, because, I mean, we don't know exactly how many there are. Few 100,000, 1 million, I don't know. The show doesn't seem to know either. The scope of the horde seems to vary quite a lot throughout the show. So at the back we've got a load of White Walkers on horses. Now I've identified them, I can ignore them for a very long time, about an hour and a half of the show, because they basically do nothing. Oh no, wait, they do something sort of early on, but yeah, it's not a biggie. And just, this is the undead giant. Apparently there's only one. They lost a couple on the march. What was that little kid that died in the first episode? The Umber boy. Apparently little children are very good at killing giants. He must have taken out the rest. As far as we can tell, there's just this guy. And you can see I've also got a more zoomed in view for inside the castle. I mean, it's still not great. It's from their battle map from a few episodes before, and I pumped up the brightness because even in that episode it was bloody dark. And so in the Godswood we've got Bran obviously acting as bait somehow, like, okay, whatever, being guarded by Theon Greyjoy, the Dickless Wonder, and I guess Alice Karstark. We saw her walk off with Theon and Bran at the very start of the episode, so I'm gonna guess she's in the Godswood, or maybe on the walls around the Godswood. She's in this corner. Ultimately, it doesn't matter for much. We've got Lyanna Mormont down here in the courtyard, where she basically just stands there and yells things that she usually couldn't know, or that people should be doing anyway. In one tower, we've got Arya and Sansa. Oh yeah, I'm putting all of the people that end up in the crypts. They're not involved in this. This is the battle movement. So I've decided just to chuck Sansa down there now, because her being on the battlements for 5 minutes doesn't affect anything. And on the other tower, we've got a Sadava Seaworth. And now, just to explain the final bit of our high-level UI here, I'm going to talk about this little box that people are going to move to. Now, down here, we got our dragons with Daenerys, Jon Snow, and the Night King. These guys are up in dragon space, which means an indeterminate point outside of our view or understanding, so that they can appear whenever is convenient to the battle. At the moment, we do actually know approximately where Jon and Dany are. They're off to the left-hand side of the battlefield on a mountain, where they'll shortly watch all of their horsemen die pointlessly. But again, getting ahead of ourselves, no idea where the Night King is. I suppose the idea is to lure him out, so if we knew, that would be a little anticlimactic. So anyway, and of course, some people, they aren't going to die, but they are going to be gone. They're going to go in the missing in action column, and some people, but not that many, considering, actually die and will end up in this column. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, from this initial point, Melisandre walks over to the Dothraki, has a little chinwag with Jorah Mormont, and then she gives the Dothraki a fire buff, sir. +1 damage against the undead. Impressive. And with that, Jorah goes back to his place in the middle. Melisandre, she comes inside, has a chat with Jorah, says she's going to die. Arya stares at her significantly, then she disappears somewhere. It looks like it's inside, but then later she's ready to go outside again. So, I don't know, I've just chucked her generically in Winterfell over here. Now, with their cavalry buffed, they charge out into complete darkness and unknown, into the undead horde. These catapults here, they actually fire once or twice, then they stop once the Dothraki hit them. I don't know why they don't just, lengthen their range so they're firing well over the Dothraki, or at least prepare to fire some more. I mean, yeah, I've got no idea what anyone was hoping to happen here. Surely even if this worked as well as possible, all the Dothraki were going to die and could be resurrected again. This isn't how you use light cavalry, even if their swords are on fire, let's be honest. And unsurprisingly, they all die. Maybe 50 of them survive. Random Dothraki general dies. This is why it wasn't worth learning his name, but he does get to go in the dead column. Don't know where Ghost goes, but apparently he's in the episode preview for the next episode, so he survives. He's just MIA. And Ser Jorah the Explorer, he comes back to the line with some of the straggling Dothraki, and the people in the right flank over here see him pass by, so he must be coming in somewhere between the Unsullied and them. So, with that, the undead are clearly advancing. Still, the catapults aren't firing. Not sure why. Not sure why they're in front. Why they're not on the walls of the castle, at least behind the Unsullied. All things considered, wasn't really worth the time and effort in making them. That would have been more useful going in the fire pit around Winterfell, in my opinion. But anyway, I'm not sure if they get actively destroyed, but for the purposes of the battle, they're destroyed. They're gone. Certainly, you don't see them outside of the castle at the end of the battle. But there's a lot you don't see outside the castle at the end of the battle, so I wouldn't take that to mean too much. So the wave of undead, and I do mean wave, impacts first with the Unsullied. Kind of weird that the centre of the line, the bit that would have actually been stopped to some degree by the Dothraki, is the first to arrive, but whatever. Unimportant, because then the wings arrive. It just basically gives the people on the wings enough time to see the undead charge someone else, go, wow, and then the undead charge them. Let's be honest, everyone on both flanks should be dead already, judging from that initial charge. They were all just, overwhelmed, Brienne had 9 zombies on top of her, and shit like that. and she was doing that annoying scream that she does, whether she's swinging a sword, getting raped, getting eaten by undead. It's all the same sound. Guessing it's also like that's also her orgasm noise as well. Oh god, there's a thought. Sorry about that, everyone. Let's move swiftly on. But just as it looks like everyone's going to die, as could be very obviously expected, why were they outside of the castle? Why was any of this their plan? Daenerys arrives. She was sitting up there in dragon space with Jon, going, "We can't. We can't just let all of our men die." A not unreasonable proposition. Jon was like, "But the Night King." To which she was like, "Yeah, doesn't really matter if everyone dies anyway." So she decided to head down there. Must have taken this very weird angle to come in, because she flies, from the right to the left of the Vale flank, but no one else saw her fly over. At least there's no footage of anyone else seeing her flying across. So from the left, she must have come in behind the army and then come up through them, so we could get that nice shot. I mean, maybe it makes sense. It's hard to... I don't know the aviation of dragons. Maybe they had to take that roundabout way in. Though Jon didn't. He just seemed to swoop right across, so he could be right behind her as they burn a swath through the undead. They probably should have kept that up for longer. They go back again on themselves, wheel round, and then they head towards the White Walkers. Now, at this point, I decided to shrink the blue area representing the whites, because as Jon and Dany fly towards the White Walkers, you realise that there's a ton of empty space in front of them, loads of it. And this is like a 30-second dragon ride away from the front lines. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long that converts to distance-wise, based on some of the movements we saw last season. You could probably get halfway across the north in that time, but, I mean, this does mean that however many undead there are, is... I know it's stupid to say a finite number, because of course it's finite, but, there's kind of an end to it, if you're following me. There's at some point, like a mile back on the battlefield, are all these White Walkers. At the other end is Winterfell, and the undead, stop discreetly in that period. So, it's not like just like the horde's just going on forever and forever. It is a distinct lump of undead that are fighting right now. But anyway, probably Jon and Dany should have just kept up with burning through the undead, because the White Walkers, they just wave them off with with some snowy flurries, which send them straight back off into dragon space. To be honest, they probably should have put down this blizzard earlier, but there's a lot of things a lot of people should have done in fighting this battle. Anyway, back to dragon space with you. So, in our next casualty on the right flank, Sam falls over because, let's face it, he should be in the crypts. Why isn't he in the crypts? If Tyrion's in the crypts, Sam should be in the crypts. But as he falls over, the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch helps him back up and gets stabbed in the back of the head. Rip Ed, you legends, the best Lord Commander. But yeah, with that, the Craven does a runner. That's why he gets this yellow arrow here, heading straight back to the gates. Also, I find it interesting that nobody tries to retreat around the castle to the back gates. We get no evidence of that. It's always behind the Unsullied and to the main gate. I mean, maybe that is more sensible. I know. You'd think that I'd think that some people would want to feed off that way, but maybe that's just me. I can't. Of all the things, I can't exactly fault them for where they're choosing to retreat to here, I suppose. But yeah, somewhere up in dragon space that wasn't worth representing, Jon and Dany have a collision with each other, but in their blizzards. But doesn't matter. It's no idea where they are in reference to the battlefield and has no overall impact. So this is where things really start to fall apart. At pretty much exactly the same time, Tormund and Brienne decide that they need to fall back on their flank. So good job, guys. Yeah, the Unsullied took, the brunt and initial charge of all of this. They've got by far the largest frontage, but you guys are just folding like a deck of cards after a couple of minutes. But yeah, as they decide this, at the same time, despite being, well, miles is a stretch, but a significant distance away, in the courtyard, Lyanna Mormont is aware of their plight. Look at her, all-knowing bear girl. And she calls out for them to open the gates. That was lucky. Imagine what Sam would have done if he just got there and the gate was shut. But yeah, I'm going to assume that everyone on both of the sides starts retreating with Tormund and Brienne respectively on their sides. Because, I mean, why wouldn't you at this point? At this point, I'm going to treat the two wings as being effectively gone. I mean, they're not fighting anymore. They're all just trying to get back inside the castle, A significant portion of people get back in to man the walls, but they're not like a battlefield chunk to be modelled or anything. So, just to say, there was nobody waiting by the doors inside the keep. You'd think that, they were probably expecting to have to retreat back inside the castle at some point, which, again, raises so many questions of why they weren't in the castle in the first place. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can see ways that you could have planned it out that would have made sense. This isn't one of them, but it still would be a big question mark. But clearly, you should be ready for some pretty... You want some quick manoeuvring here. So the fact they didn't have anyone waiting right by the doors just gets me a little bit, They had to have people run across and start levering out the bits of wood. I mean, it's not a big thing, but you would have thought they'd have people right there. Every second could count in something like this. But yeah, as you'd expect, Sam is the first named character actually inside the castle. But yeah, despite starting the battle in the front rank of the Unsullied, Grey Worm is now a couple of ranks back so that he can get dramatically charged by the undead again. Interesting. Not sure quite how he pulled that off. So yeah, things just continue to get worse. I'm pretty sure I saw Davos move from his tower to the gatehouse. Based on a bald head and bit of cuirass I thought I could see, but it's hardly important. Let's be honest. But yeah, just lots of unnamed people running in through the gates while the Unsullied hold the front line and things just get worse. Turns out that the left flank arrives first, the Vale forces, with Brienne, Pod and Jamie running inside. Meanwhile there's a little bit more funny business up there in Dragon Space. It seems to put Winterfell on their right wherever they are, so I think they're flying clockwise and probably still in front of the castle. It's funny how all of the dragon action seems to happen to the north of the castle. It'd be quite easy for the Night King just, to kind of come out of Dragon Space and just fly around the edges here and, oh, look, he could fly in and there be Bran, and right now these two fuck nuggets are just flying in circles and hitting each other. But don't worry, because the writers didn't. Creatively, it made sense to them because they wanted it to happen. So yeah, the right wing now arrives in front of the gate. Arya, our little badass, manages to save the Hound with an arrow from the battlements. Then the Hound, Beric, Jorah, and Tormund hang around outside the gate, but behind the Unsullied, where there are still lots of undead rushing in. So I'm guessing that, they're just people coming in from round the edges. Kind of, I know, raises a lot of questions about why this whole business was a good idea for a battle plan, because now the Unsullied are utterly flanked. not only are they completely flanked on the left and right, they must be getting periodically flanked from the behind as well as the undead like lap round them. If they're managing to lap round so far, they're at the gate where these four are fighting. So yeah, the Unsullied are pretty doomed, like this battle plan. But yeah, so with these four outside and no sign of Gendry, we're just gonna have to assume that he ran inside at some point. Maybe you see him. I didn't see him, but he's inside the castle now. Lyanna Mormont needlessly yells to protect the gate. Thanks for that. As I say, still hundreds of Unsullied outside doing that, including the hero group, and is anyone not protecting the gate? Thanks, Lyanna. Anyway, again, Grey Worm has somehow retreated from the front line to behind the Unsullied entirely and behind the fire pit. Hard to show all of that at this scale. But he's in front of these guys, but still they're all behind the fire pit. He traps all of his brothers to die on the other side of the fire pit. Amazing plan, everyone. You should just pat yourselves on the back. And they managed to bungle this, this Unsullied extermination plan as well, because apparently the plan was to light the trench only using Dany. Only using little Miss Where's My Dragons over here. No, they didn't have anybody waiting nearby with torches or anything. Their fire arrows failed to set it alight, which, to be fair, is accurate. It'd be pretty stupid if the fire arrows did set it alight. The fact that it's not covered in, oil or other flammable stuff, pretty dumb, because let's just say that Dany did come in and blast this little bit with dragonfire. That's not just suddenly going to whoosh across everything in 30 seconds, like, spoiler alert, is gonna happen in a second. The fire would have to catch, which, like, don't get me wrong, can be quick, Probably if the fire got going good, there could be fire around the Winterfell in like 10 minutes or something. It wouldn't be in a second like we see, though. That's not how it works, unless this was covered in some kind of massive inflammable stuff. But again, details. Also, not sure why didn't they just come out of the back gate and set fire to it? But as everyone they sent out to try and set fire to it gets tackled by the undead. But these four are fine and they can't stop it. They can't guard one guy with a torch to get to the fire pits. That is beyond them. But again, details. Don't even worry about it. So yeah, I think Davos is back up in his tower to signal to Daenerys. Again, not really important. Just representing how it's all lapping around a bit more here. So then some Unsullied run out with Melisandre, protecting her as she attempts to use her human Bic powers to do what men with torches cannot. And yeah, like, why didn't they do this with the guys with torches? Protect them. Why didn't they do that as well? Why didn't, bring out Melisandre? I mean, she could have at least, jogged, power walked. Don't worry about it. But, while she was out there, just chanting to herself, some guys with torches could have walked out in the Unsullied, like, lump as well, just in case it didn't work. Just throwing it out there. That's all I'm doing, just throwing some ideas to stick against the wall. But it works. Whoosh. And the fire being lit finally allows our dragon riders, well, the quote-unquote good dragon riders, to come out of dragon space. Dany realises that she's been flying in circles for half an hour while her army's been utterly annihilated, having caused, I mean, let's be honest, minimal damage to to the undead hordes in the scheme of their numbers. So yeah, army that she's been building for 7 seasons, just needlessly dying. Yeah, well, it's all right. She'll have as many as she needs next episode. Let's be honest. But more annoyingly, turns out John was sitting on Rhaegal right next to the fucking fire pit. I'm pretty sure on the wall here guarding the Godswood. Bitch, why? What? Why? Why the fuck didn't he light it? Why didn't nobody tell him? He's not gonna be inconspicuous, is he? He's riding a fucking dragon. Like, why does he not know the battle plan? Why was he like, oh, that signals for Dany to light the fire pit? I better not do it. Was there no provision for the other one to take over? I mean, it's terrible that they didn't have a provision for if neither of the dragons could do it anyway. But the fact that they didn't even have a provision that either of the dragons can do it is laughable. So what was he doing? He was just watching those hundreds of Unsullied die needlessly. He was just watching Melisandre come out with a popcorn trying to light it going, shit man, this is really tense right here. Just... I mean, like, was the plan always for all of the Unsullied to be on the other side of the fire pit to die? I mean, I don't know why they didn't retreat to the other end before popping the final bit and setting fire to it all in, but we're getting bogged down in details. Sorry, guys. Semi-important note, Sandor Clegane gets spooked by the fire and heads inside. These other guys out here act like that's significant, but they all immediately follow him based on when we next see them, so... It was important. It's very character. So, Dany, from being in front of them, has to go on a wild journey around the outside so that she can dramatically swoop from behind and above the castle to blast a line through the undead. I can now positively, Davos and Arya are back on the gatehouse. I might not have mentioned it, but they definitely had moved down to like the portcullis above the gate itself. Now they're back in their two towers again. Again, not important, just a little detail. Yeah, I've been a bit messy with these guys in here. They're all just in a mass at the moment. Not sure exactly where they are. So yeah. We cut over to Bran to have a chat with Theon and act weird, warg inside the Ravens. Like I say, everybody went inside, like I said, off screen. Off screen, the last of the Unsullied are all dead. There's nobody else outside the walls at all. Everyone that's still alive, barring our dragon riders, is inside the castle. Like I say, it's a bit of a mess, but we've not really got a point of reference. So, while all this is happening, Jon is still just sitting on the wall of the Godswood with his thumb up his arse like, don't get me wrong, I get that his stated intention was to guard Bran to lure in the Night King, but I mean, you could at least have the dragon, breathe a bit of fire from afar or something. But Dany's just having a whale of a time, flying about, burning whites. To be honest, I can't even complain about that. What I would complain about is the fact that she's doing it at the very back. Maybe if she did it at the front here, the whites that are the closest to trying to break in to kill all of her men. Because at this point, the whites start piling their bodies onto the fire in various places. There's a couple in these kind of rough locations, but there's more of them. It's really kind of patchy where it is. But they don't just use their overwhelming numbers to put it all out. They still make body bridges. I don't know why they didn't just wave over it all and put it all out. I guess they wanted the visual of these fires going off in the background here, and it also kind of gives an excuse for why they only attack at the front here, rather than, enveloping the entire castle. Like I say, it's bullshit because now they're on the other side, they can start doing that, and they could easily just put it all out with their numbers and not have any significant impact anyway. But I guess it is a justification for why they only attack the front of the castle. Um, so yeah, just saying, the archers inside were not shooting at any of these wights for a long time. They were just standing there looking creepy. They didn't really start until they were already piling themselves onto the pyre. So I'm just saying, if Dany was focusing her fire along the front, and Jon was focusing his dragon fire along the front, and everyone was shooting their arrows, might have been a little harder to, bridge this, if the front lines were just constantly exploding in gouts of fire, wouldn't have been as easy for them to put the fire out. But don't worry about it. So, a lot of things now happen quite quickly and quite confusingly filmed, so this one's going to take a minute. Mormont calls for them to man the walls. Not sure why they weren't already doing this. But anyway, this is our excuse to sort out our heroes inside. So, just to be clear, Melisandre has fucked off to, I'm guessing, what the house that we see her in later is. I don't know where it is, but this building's as good as any. We don't really have a good idea of what's happening in any of this part of Winterfell or where exactly the library building's meant to be. The library building might be this big drum tower, if it was the books. I don't know if it's the same in the show, but it ultimately doesn't matter. So Clegane's just having PTSD in a corner over here somewhere. He does that during battles with fire. Beric ignores the 9-year-old girl to, I guess, just stand in the courtyard for like the next 5 minutes. I mean, alright then. I wouldn't listen to her either. So Davos and Arya stay on the gatehouse here. We see Sam, Jorah and Grey Worm head up to the wall on the left side of the gate. And we see Jaime and Pod, they seem to go up together to the wall directly to the right of the gate. Brienne also goes to the right, but doesn't seem to be on the same exact patch of wall as Jaime and Pod. Maybe she is, but it was just different and looked different, but I've decided to put her on this section of wall here. Though this does have a bit of a problem for placing Tormund and Gendry, who for some reason have been paired up. I mean, why not, I guess. Still a little bit random. But they're pretty certain they're on the wall to the right, based on just what's happening and the brown wall roofs. Pretty sure they don't share a wall with Brienne, so I think they're on this one that's like a bit in a nook here, which, to be honest, if I had to pick one of these walls, that'd be the wall I'd pick. That'd probably be the easiest, but maybe they're on Brienne's wall and Brienne is actually on this front one. Can't rule that out. But yeah, just want to point out that the Whites, they've now made complete contact with the castle. Oh yeah, Jon flew off after the Night King because he's finally appeared out of dragon space. Just, doesn't jump Jon while he's sitting on the walls, doesn't slam into Daenerys as she's flying about the battlefield, doesn't come in from behind and kill Bran, his stated objective. He just flaps down and looks a spoopy, and our 2 dragon riders spot him and chase off after him. Yeah, sorry, I just want to point that was a little off. That was not what I meant to say though. So the undead, they're still only interested in attacking the most heavily defended part of Winterfell. I mean, okay, they're undead. I guess you can just put that down to them attacking the nearest thing possible. So that's all right. I've just left these. These dragons should really be in dragon space, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're kind of messing around to the north of the battlefield here. But yeah, now things become a real fucking clusterfuck. Bit redundant there. So Brienne definitely now has to go over to Jaime's wall to help him. Not sure where Pod went. Maybe he was just in the darkness somewhere. Uh, so the walls get overrun. Oh, sorry about that. Wrong slide. The walls get overrun, but the only person that we actually follow from this point on the walls is Arya, who basically just does her ninja thing, kills a dozen wights and doesn't afraid of anything. Before she does this, she shares a significant glance at Davos, and then I'm pretty sure that we don't see him again until after the battle. I mean, he definitely survives, but I don't think we see him in the action ever again. I mean, he always said he wasn't a fighter. But yeah, so we've got Arya ninjaing into her tower and down onto the wall. Everyone else on the walls do survive, though. Whatever happens to them, they don't die. So that's okay. And at this point, our undead giant, who's you may have noticed throughout this has been edging his way down the battlefield, finally arrives to Kool-Aid Man through the gates. Oh yeah! And he bodies Lyanna Mormont in what is probably my favourite part of the episode. Fucking hell, the sound that made was hilarious. But yeah. And then they kill each other. I guess while Thoris is like not that far away, you know, he's definitely in the courtyard as well still. I guess it's possible I've got things majorly messed up and he's over on this side, but either way, he should be well within like visual distance of the undead giant. I mean, I guess he didn't have anything to do, but I just find it funny that he just stood there watching this little girl get crushed to death, I guess. I guess he was just giving the Hound a pep talk. Come on, Clegane. We've got to save Wolverine. But yeah, let's just assume everybody gets off the walls okay, because they do. Okay enough, nobody's killed. We watch Arya, as I say, fight along the wall a bit more. Eventually she decides that she's not a superhuman ninja and is a scared little girl again, fairly arbitrarily. Then she hits her head, which should probably kill her if she is a little girl, given that she smashed her head into a fucking stone doorway after being thrown. But yeah. She lived through far worse in Bravos, didn't she? But yeah, when she eventually jumps off, that kicks Sander out of his PTSD. Dee and him and Beric run off to help her. And I'm just going to assume that Davos hides in this right-hand tower for the rest of the battle, because we never see him down in the courtyard anywhere. And I don't know, for some reason, I just find it funny to imagine, like, went up to the top and, like, battened down the hatch or whatever, and just, like, sat in a corner, like, crying for the rest of the battle. Not because I dislike Davos, it's just, I don't know. It tickles me for some reason. But anyway, I've kind of... Again, these guys should be in dragon space, but they are also kind of being active at least now, so I decided just to leave them on the battlefield, because I could place it to the north of the castle. These three have a little bit of action up in dragon space, but nothing comes of it. But yeah, at this point, the entire keep of the castle is functionally overrun. You know, the undead are just pouring over the tops of the walls. The gate's been smashed open by the giant. Sorry if I didn't mention that, but yeah, he did. So they are capital F fucked. Like I say, somewhere above the battlefield, dragon fight of no consequence still happening. Arya goes on her spoopy hide and seek through the library, and eventually the Hound and Beric find her and they run off. Don't know, like I said, don't know what building this is actually in. Let's face it, it's neither the D&D, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's the only area inside Winterfell we see, so it could be anywhere. It just doesn't matter, but I've picked this building for the sake of the map. So yeah, then Arya, the Hound and Beric reach Melisandre. Thoros dies doing so, T-posing like a boss. Rip in peace, flaming sword badass. Then Melisandre makes some faux important and inaccurate callbacks to the earlier seasons. And Arya ascends into dragon space, going off to find the Night King and kill him, apparently. Despite the fact, he's still currently flying about on a motherfucking dragon, she's decided that she's going to Wolverine her way in and kill that dragon. Sorry about that. I've been watching too many of Preston Jacobs' reviews of this. But yeah, we do not have any idea how Arya gets from here to spoilers here later on, which I will talk about later. So as far as I'm concerned, she is in dragon space, baby. Anyway, the Whites finally infiltrate the Godswood. It was unclear what Alice Karstark, as I say, unclear exactly where she was. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and assume she survives. Probably hasn't. Nobody. Oh shit! I forgot to mention Bronze Yon when he went into MIA. Basically, you can go back and see. But when this flank disappears, I just assume that he's probably dead. But I've put him in missing in action because, until you see a body, right? This is Game of Thrones. Stannis is going to come out and be the guy that wins in the final episode. Believe me. But anyway, so yeah, let's face it. If Bronze Yon and Alice Karstark didn't turn up again, none of the normies would care, and none of the bitter book people like me would care, because they've done nothing with the characters in the show, so they may as well be dead, but we'll put them in MIA. But it's guessing that whatever she was doing, she's in deep shits now that the Godswood's been pretty much overrun. But yeah, it's unclear. I would assume that the Whites that are in the Godswood are actually ones that have broken into the main keep and run through, like the way that everyone else tries to get through, rather than ones that climbed these walls, which, like I said, is weird. I don't know why they're not just climbing at least the entire frontage of it. But the way that it's not totally overrun and coming from all directions yet, I'm guessing they're undead that are feeding through, especially because they're coming in sporadically as well. But who knows? Certainly not D&D. So the Night King flies past, blows up the wall next to the already destroyed gate. Thanks, I guess. I hope Jamie and Pod had gotten off that wall. Don't worry, they had. But yeah, as he was... I'm not sure why the Night King didn't come in and do this earlier. Break a whole load of the walls. Why not break the fucking Godswood wall? Let loads of undead in there. I like how Dragonfire just makes stone explode. It's not like Harrenhal. It's not melting. It's exploding like you fired a giant bazooka at it. But don't want to get bogged down in details, because at this point, Jon bodies him just as he flies over Winterfell. Dany's flying in circles somewhere. Seriously, don't know what the fuck she's been doing. She's just been still flying around and killing undead at the back of the army, chasing after the Night King. Basically, nothing of consequence. But I would just want to point out that this took forever for Jon to do, seeing as he saw him like 10 minutes ago in the battle. They've all just been flying around playing hide and seek somewhere above all this. Ah well. This mid-air tussle moves across the Godswood, as we can see from Theon, and then to break the stalemate, Khaleesi flies in and finally fucking shows up. Gets involved in this. So, in this chaos, the Night King's dragon gets sent back off into dragon space. It has its jaw destroyed and is damaged, but sure as hell ain't dead. Make sure you don't bump into Arya, because she'll fucking kill you, mate. But yeah, the Night King falls off his dragon a very long way. He's absolutely fine. So So, Rhaegal and Jon, they crash land, and Rhaegal has to have a sleepy. He's not dead. He's definitively not dead, but he has no part in the rest of the battle. He doesn't get swarmed while lying there having a sleepy like Drogon when he lands later, but he's around. Just don't worry about it, guys. Don't worry about it. So we know that from this, Jon got off and fell somewhere to the north of the Night King, somewhere behind the Night King, and Dany confronts him on the ground. From here, we get a small update from inside the castle. We can see that Tormund and Gendry fighting in the background as we have a sort of Jorah point of view. And for like the 50th time today, Dany has flown over the castle and there's been a dragon screech noise. But for no goddamn reason at all, Jorah decides, oh, I better get outside and help. I don't know what he thought he was going to do. But he's decided this is his time to shine. But, I mean, don't worry, there's only a few thousand undead surrounding him, and I'm guessing still outside and trying to pour in, so it's no biggie. Drogon uses Dracarys. It's not very effective. And Dany fucks off again. So yeah, sucks to be Jorah. Can just imagine him. He's fought through 100 undead. You know, he's crossed the burning pits again. Dany just flies off over him. He's like, oh, yeah. I guess in retrospect that was a pretty stupid idea. But anyway, Dany's fucked off back to dragon space. Jon tries to confront the Night King, but he gets cock-blocked when he raises more whites everywhere. So, you know, the thousands of Dothraki, I guess up here actually, they've probably come to life and are wandering down. All of the Unsullied, they're coming to life as well. All of the people inside the crypt, inside Winterfell that are dead, they're coming to life. None of this seems to impact Jorah on his quest now just to end up in the middle of a battlefield full of undead, actually, at the moment. So Sam and Grey, as all of these whites are coming to life, we get some updates from inside the castle. So let's go back to this. Let's go back to this area. We can see that Sam and Grey Worm are still together and in front of a wall. So I'm guessing it's the wall that they were fighting on earlier. Like, I don't know, but maybe it was in front of a tower wall or in front of one of these inner tower walls, actually. But I'm putting them over here. They're significantly far away from everyone else at the moment, wherever they are. Tormund and Gendry have decided to go back on the wall to fight after we saw them in the courtyard. Good for them. Different. We do see Jaime fighting in the courtyard with no point of reference or other characters around. Assume it's down here somewhere. And apparently the White Walkers at some point have been moving because they fucking turn up with the Night King, just walking in through the gate. I want to point out that everyone's been nicely made sure they're out of the way of the gate. You know, if you were Arya up in Dragon Space, this would be a good time to, I don't know, jump down from the gatehouse onto the Night King. That'd be a good way to get the drop on him. This would be a good time for Dany to come back. I mean, maybe the other White Walkers aren't immune to dragon fire at least, which is its own bullshit, but I'm not going to dwell on that. But yeah, also, they decided they didn't want to bring the horses, actually, okay? You know, the dead, you know, it's not because the CGI for the horses is expensive. You know, D&D really just wanted them to walk in because it's what makes sense for the characters. Why wouldn't they? Come on. And I just want to point out that somehow all of these White Walkers walked past Jon and and Ser Jorah, not encountering or doing anything with either of them. Don't worry about it. We can see that Theon's still fighting the Whites in the wood. Jon had managed to escape from somehow being entirely surrounded by the whites to them being mostly in front of him again, and as he was about to get surrounded for the second time, Danny turns up out of dragon space to save him. Jorah is still somewhere outside the gates, doing something. Now, like an utter twat, Danny lands her dragon. Then, rather than giving Jon a lift on the dragon to the Godswood to save Bran, which she could do, there's no reason that wouldn't have worked. There's no way it wouldn't have been quicker than Jon fighting his way there on foot. I mean, maybe that was what Danny expected, actually. Maybe that was why she was so dumbfounded and just sat there on the ground while Drogon got completely swarmed by whites. She's just like, what the fuck's this Belen doing? I thought I was going to give him a lift to Bran to save the day, but he's just running off. God. This is sleeping with him's my biggest regret, and I didn't, and it's not because he's my cousin, because he's my nephew. But yeah, just sitting there utterly passively until Drogon swarmed, at which point Drogon, not unreasonably sick of Daenerys' shit, flies off, knocking her off, leaving her behind, trying to shake off the whites. I like to imagine that as they changed places, Jon and Jorah high-fived each other, you know? Because it's kind of entirely ridiculous that they didn't meet. Unless, maybe Jorah overshot. Because I don't think we got a good point of reference for where Jorah actually came into the action. Maybe he was so good he actually fought out up here. And then it's like, oh shit, once she flies back, she's down here. He has to run back down again. But yeah, I should point out, for the sake of both of these guys, there is still countless undead everywhere. That will not be a serious impediment to either of their progress, so don't worry about it. But yeah, as I implied, it's a friend zone. He turns up in the nick of time to save Khaleesi. As Jon runs inside the keep, all of his friends change their positions to line up very nicely, and conveniently. So Jon has a nice, good look as he walks in through the front to the Godswood. You know, just no matter where they were fighting, they've all just scooched over to basically be in a nice long line in front of these walls. Very convenient. It's I'm not sure why they chose to be clustered around the broken wall and gate. I mean, like, look at this map. There's some other pretty defensible looking structures deeper inside that, I mean, I'm no medieval general, but I would have possibly suggested falling back to, rather than flouncing about like a pillock in the middle of an open courtyard. But don't worry about it. Let's well say, I wonder what the Hound and Melisandre have been talking about for all this time. They can't have much in common. So yeah, at this point the Godswood is totally overrun. There's only Theon and Bran left. The undead have decided to stop around the outside for dramatic tension. How convenient. Khaleesi picks up a sword and her and Jorah go back-to-back fighting towards the castle. Jon kind of meanders around into another courtyard. I think there were too many zombies around here, so he had to lock the way. And will you look who turned back up out of dragon space? It's your boy Viserion. He's back blue and in pog form. So yeah, Jon has to hide from the dragon. I mean, it's not the worst thing he's done today, but it's a little anticlimactic. The Night King officially arrives. We have lots of shots of everyone fighting, now a bit more sensibly spread out through the area, now that Jon doesn't have to walk past them all. I mean, let's face it, we couldn't have Tormund and Gendry actually, blocking the gate as Jon walked in, because that would have ruined the shot. Yeah, I'm also not sure if I dwelt on the fact that the White Walkers walked past all these guys, I'm guessing taking the exact same route that Jon was trying to take down through here, with completely no interaction with any of these motherfuckers. You know, there wasn't even a reaction of these people seeing them walk past but being unable to react to it because they were being swarmed by the whites. Just no interaction at all. These White Walkers did nothing. Nothing. But yeah, what do these two have to talk about? Crochet? I'm guessing Davos is still having fun up in his tower. Like, seriously, let me know if I've missed him somewhere and you can place him somewhere else in the battle. I'll add an update. So yeah, Theon bites it after running at the Night King pointlessly. It was a painfully long scene. Jon yells impotently at the dragon. That's good to know his plot built up to something important. And Jorah is getting shanked quite a lot defending Milady, but Sir Friendzone is strong, so he keeps going. And then, will you see who finally left Dragon Space? It's Arya. She's back. So she got past the countless undead, the zombie dragon, the dozen, I think, maybe 20 White Walkers. She's jumping from an impossibly high angle, judging from the sets and the shots. She didn't use any of her superpowers, but it's fine. She did it. She snuck past these. She snuck past them all. Just don't worry about it, because then she kills him. Bravo, Dabbid. And then everything else dies too, because this is Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. The drone ship is destroyed, so the droids all go floppy and fall over. The dragon collapses into bones. The White Walkers explode into glass. It takes a long time, It's not like pop. It just happens. It kind of happens in waves, so you get these views of the undead still, running and doing things, but then collapsing in, like I say, a wave. Not because it makes sense, but because it makes for a slightly better shot, I guess. So yeah. Also, our final casualty, Jorah. Jorah, the explorer who wears a fedora. He finally bites it. All those stabs finally caught up to him. The plate armor was not very effective. And Drogon decides to come out of Dragon Space to be useless, just to sit there. He got rid of all the whites. Right. Thanks. Good job. So yeah, this is the point where it turns out that Mel and Sandor really were just in a room together for the entire fucking time. Jesus Christ, I was just memeing about it. That was actually what happened. So then everyone that was fighting politely gets out of her way to make sure that they don't get in the way of the shot. And by everyone, I also mean a lot of the dead people. They make sure to tastefully pile up to either side of the gate. Because you wouldn't want to ruin the shot. And except for Davos, he comes the fuck out of nowhere after being AWOL for an hour just to look at her. And then very nicely, Dany, Jorah's corpse, and Drogon go off into Dragon Space to get out of the way so we can get a nice clear shot of mountains. I want to point out when they flew up there earlier, the White Walkers were standing in front of a forest. It's just mountains now that you can see. Don't worry about it. But also the vast majority, this entire area should be littered with corpses, burn marks, dead horses, destroyed catapults, the fire pits. It doesn't have to be on fire anymore, but the bits of wood and charcoal and dead burnt zombies should be everywhere. Nothing, like I say, some tasteful piles around the front of the gates. Nothing else. Pure, pristine, clear white snow. I guess it must have really snowed hard while we weren't able to see it, basically. One thing, I suppose it's possible she left out of the south gate? Does the sun rise in the south in Westeros? I don't know. But there was no indication that that gate was ever attacked or broken open. So I don't know why there'd be whites outside there at all dead. And, the fire pit should still be there, and lots of other shit. And again, if so, how the fuck did Davos get from up here to down here in time to confront Melisandre? But, so I'm pretty sure it was meant to be out of the North Gate that she went to, and then she dies. Regardless, she kills herself. And you know what? I know exactly how she feels. This show can go fuck itself. I'm glad there's only 3 episodes left, and this weird fever dream nightmare that has been the last 4 seasons of Game of Thrones will finally be over. Because, I mean, how much of this made sense? There was some good visual spectacle. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Melisandre gets to join the ranks of the dead in this part. So yeah, let's have a final rundown of what happens. We could forget about these guys in dragon space. They just had to get out of the way of the shot. But missing in action, Ghost, who we know is alive, and Rhaegal, who we know is alive, based on the previews for the next episode. Sir Bronze, Jon, and Alice Karstark, they're probably dead. Not even didn't see them, didn't see Bronze Jon at all in this episode. Didn't saw Alice in like the first minute and never again. Nobody except for me would care if they did turn out to still be alive or not. So dead, Random Dothraki, Sir Beric Dondarrion, Dolorous Ed Tollett, 90 something Lord Commander, Theon Greyjoy, the Dickless Wonder, Lyanna Mormont, what's his face, Sir Jorah Mormont, died doing what he loved, being shit and showing off in front of Daenerys, and Melisandre, the Red Wench. So, let's see. Literally who? Cool but C-list. Actual, B+ actor, but who hasn't... Not actor, some of these other guys are decent actors. B+ character, but he hasn't had anything to do for 2 seasons, so... I'm surprised, actually. I thought Theon would make it, because, I don't know... In the books, I feel like Theon's just going to outlive everyone because his existence is such suffering. And that's the way these things go. But maybe they wanted to clear him out of the way for the show because they have no fucking idea what to do with him, and they haven't for a long time. Thank God she's gone. Thank God the tiniest bear is gone. Oh yeah, also Rip House Mormont, totally extinct. Fuck me. But yeah, cute for the first joke, I guess. Overused it. This is why you don't just blindly give fans what they want. Ser Jorah, similar thing to Theon, really. Good actor. They haven't known what to do with him for seasons. Probably for the best he died. He isn't a shock. I was expecting him to bite it in this one. As for shocks, I mean, Thoros was 100% dead in this battle. And Melisandre, yeah, not surprising. I mean, I guess she did her job. Who she considered the Great Elder to be is dead, so makes sense, I suppose. It's alright. And anyway, and who's alive? Does that all make sense? Bran being alive makes sense. Now that the Night King's fucking dead, I'm not sure what the point of him is. I guess the entire point of his entire plot was to find out about R+L=J. You could have just used Howland Reed for that, mate. Didn't need to introduce time travel to the fucking story to find out whose Jon's parents were. Sam read about it in a fucking book, which is his own problem. Oh yeah, not a surprise. They fucking love her, as you can tell from the fact she killed the fucking Night King despite her only joining the fight for the world plot like 4 episodes ago. She's the one that saves the day. I mean, there's subverting your expectations, and then there's bending you over and rogering you dry, but okay then. Jon Snow, yeah, not a surprise he survived. The Hound, not a surprise. Clegane Bowl, get hype, get hype. Davos, I mean, he's got nothing else to do. Bit of a surprise he survived. I was expecting them to clear out a whole lot of the C-lists here. There was a good chance that Pod might have died, given that Brienne was treated like she was having a Make-A-Wish Foundation day with everything that was happening to her in the last episode. Kind of surprised she didn't bite it as well. Not surprised Jaime didn't bite it. He has to live to the conclusion. Well, I say that's the thing. I want to be shocked, you know. I'd like it if they actually killed one of these characters in a meaningful way, you know. Not just, you know, it's like going back to when the show was good, you know. Ned's death and Rob's death made sense in context. They were big. They were built up to. Them dying did complete their story and affect things. I don't just want them to pick a fucking name out of the hat and kill them. It's got to be tied into the narrative. But I'd like for them to do that with some of the big guys. You know, not just all in the final battle. You know, I thought this was the fucking final battle, guys. Apparently not. It's some boozed up bint. Bint, a weird guy in a pirate cosplay. And, you know, Golden Company sans elephants, Bronn in the brothel with the crossbow, and Qyburn, that creepy uncle. But anyway, very surprised Grey Worm didn't die. Very surprised. He may as well have. He's the last fucking Unsullied left. I bet he fucking isn't. I bet there's thousands of them left at the start of the next episode. Sam should have died. He spent the last half an hour of the show rolling around in the dirt and crying while White swarmed over him. There's no amount of layers of fat that should have kept him alive through all of that. Gendry, I expected him to survive. He could have died. You know, he's very C-list. But, you know, yeah, not surprised. Tormund, kind of expected him to die because, I mean, he is the only face of the wildlings, so I guess it's sort of important. But, I mean, how many wildlings are left? Let's be honest. It's like Grey Worm, not that important, really. But I do like Tormund. Yeah, he actually had me cracking up at some points in the second episode, so glad they hung on to him. But yeah, so this was a shit show. I hope if anyone else was autistic enough to actually wonder how all of these incredibly dark, incredibly shaky, and just generally poorly filmed action scenes were all linked together, because I know I was, while trying to work out exactly where and when everything was happening. I hope this little autistic journey's helped people out. And I hope just hearing me, and whether it helped or not, it was cathartic to scream into the void about some of the stupid things that happened in this episode, even if they were strictly a little bit off topic from the point of the video. Anyway, I've been your right bookend Peter. We, like I say, like I said in the final episode, Two Absolute Bookends is on, you know, sort of permanent hiatus, but we do have other things in the long-term pipe work, because, like I say, busy men about town. That's a funny joke, but actually busy. But one day, but yeah, bleh. But yeah, watch this space, and anything we do will be tweeted about on our Twitter, and I'll try and link it into this channel somehow too. But yeah, I will see you the next time I get annoyed enough at a TV show to go on an insane rant about it for, would you look at that, an hour and 15 minutes. I have 100 better things that I should be doing. I'll catch you all later.